I want to just say a couple of reflections, beautiful community, about some offer some good heart medicine for us here as we are in the beginning. Maybe we've been in apocalyptic moments for a long time, but I was talking to a friend earlier who was expressing to me that they felt kind of lost, like they were between worlds. And I liken this idea, we often say, you might hear people refer to third dimension and fifth dimension. And, it's sort of a way that we can wrap our mind around this great turning that's happening. Like we're turning out of the third dimension to the fifth dimension, or we're moving from the industrial growth society to a life sustaining society, right? All of this time has been prophesied, right? Whether it's the Hopi prophecy or the Mayan prophecy or the Lakota prophecy. I mean, even the Tibetans have a prophecy about this time, right? Even the Kobe, this incredible tribe that live up in the high mountains. Maybe you might have heard of them in Colombia. They're kind of a clan of people. They were all white and they live on the earth, and they have this kind of do these advanced practices, and they live in a kind of secluded, but they've been sending these elders out into the world talking about this time, right? And what is interesting is that as the external systems begin to break down, it mirrors our internal systems. And the internal system being sort of the programs that we might have been so ensnared by, rather it's the programs of, supremacy, white supremacy, or colonization, or the programs that we tell ourselves about who we are, right? These limited views, distortions, and belief systems. And when they start to collapse, we often can have that feeling of being a little bit lost. Like this is collapsing, but yet we're not we're not deep into the great turning. So I would use this analogy of we're in the fourth dimension, right? We're between the third and the fifth. We haven't moved into that, but we're clearly exiting out of this program, right? It's like, and we're moving more and more, and there can be this sense of the ground shaking and this deep feeling of being lost, as there's again the inner collapse, right? We are the systems in the world, everybody. We are the prison system, we are the healthcare system. It's all created with consciousness, right? Systems are created by consciousness, and when consciousness evolves, so do the systems. They become more compassionate, right? Based on the frequency of the people. We agree to that, right? And so we're all in this. It's like, I keep seeing this excavation site, right? It's just, wow, destruction zone in there, right? Things are being mowed down and plowed down, and it can make us feel like, well, where do we find solid ground? And this is where the meta practice is so important, because we root down in the energy of the heart. This is where the resiliency is. And I've been studying so much over the last, I've come back to my Dharma reading text, and I'm lucky that I have so many books, and I loved and love and love to read about the power of the heart and the power of compassion and bodhicitta and lives of the great masters, because they're all saying the same thing. It's the heart that liberates, right? It's the heart that when we're resting in this great heart, that we find everything that we're looking for. We can rest in compassion, but we have to practice it, right? Because we're so programmed into this mind dominated. And I always think of that the Mayan prophecy that ended where it was the eagle condor, 500 years. And I've talked about this before. I even wrote about this because I used to see many visions of this. And the Mayan prophecy was the 500 years where the eagle and the condor represents South America, which kind of represents earth, love, family, the great mother, right? Um, Nature. And the north represents kind of the mind and the systems and kind of control. And they said that for 500 years, the eagle dominated condor, just beat it into submission, right? And that top down, which and also condor is feminine, right? It carries that beautiful feminine spirit. The earth is feminine. We come from the mother, right? So it's like to dominate that energy is so life destruction. It destroys life, right? It's the essence of life, right? And so they said, that in 2012, around 2012, 2020, in that time, that would be the condor would rise, and that the condor wouldn't then start dominating the eagle. Then that would set the whole thing on time. Them were in the loop, but they would fly together. There would be this beautiful energy of the heart and the mind being in harmony. Right now, the mind is just dominating everything. You could see that. And we know as systems go into collapse, that old grasp onto the power, right, will happen, and it will destroy everything because it has to. It doesn't have the heart in it naturally, right? It doesn't have the heart. Yes, Debs, it represents wisdom and compassion, right? We need the mind. It's not throw out the mind, but it's in balance with the heart, right? So right now, what we're trying to do is recalibrate. This great turning is a recalibration where things will come into balance. It's not one dominates other. It's like you see these beautiful birds flying together. And also, I've been reading this book, Return of the Bird Tribe. This was a channeled book. Does anyone know that book? I got to get the author's name because I often have these incredible. I've been writing for years about seeing these condors of light. In fact, my third book about medicine was called Condors of Light. And this was 12 years ago, I had that title because then when I was in the jungle, I would see these enormous, gorgeous condors. Usually condors aren't like gorgeous, but I would see these visions. They're powerful birds, and they're really honored in Peru, especially in the high altitude, the mountains. They pictures of condor spirit, condor feathers. And I was gifted some white condor feathers actually, and I used them in ceremonies. And I always take really good care of like these white condor feathers, and I got gifted when I was up in Cusco. And I started to make sense now. It's like, oh, we're balancing the love and wisdom that that we need in order to awaken. And right now, everybody, there is it is really, really a good time to practice. We are in all of these powerful astrological alignments. Tomorrow is this huge full moon. Full moons are amplifiers, right, of practice. So they say when you do 100 mantras, it's like doing 10,000, right? We have the amplification of that beautiful moon shining on us. And so we're returning to the heart. And it can seem like right now the people with all the heart are getting pummeled out there. But that's kind of just what's being amplified. It's just like, oh man, they're really getting they're getting all the airtime right now, right? But trust that that's just a part of it because one, nothing built on greed, hatred, and delusion lasts. Only the heart. And that's what every text, every great master, anybody who's ever awakened has said the same thing, whether it's Jesus or, Ramana Maharshi or any tradition, right? So we're coming back, but it can just feel groundless, but it's not. The idea is right now is to come back and to fortify your heart center because there's a line right now. Anytime you move away from that, you will suffer. Do you notice your day can feel like this? Like, oh, yeah, in the morning, we're like heart, love, light, yeah. And then it can be 3 hours later, like we lose all center and we're just in it, right? It's like the 3D, it's destruction, fear, terror. Oh my God, what's going on? You might look at a news something flash. I don't have a TV. I'm like, I can't that whatever's being amplified, but I do get stuff through the phone and on, and I'm like, oh, and then I notice I crash and I come back into my heart. And you're going to see there's a dividing line right now, everybody. To stay even in that frequency will become so painful that we just automatically we start to shift, and that's how you know you're moving into that next stage, because the pain of going back is too much. You can't even rest in it. The vibration of it is so dense, so heavy, and just so, it's like putting on dirty clothes or something. You're just like, what? You can't do it. You can't step into that. It doesn't feel familiar anymore. It's like, okay, let me take that off. Oh, okay, here we go. We got a whole new thing now. And that's what is happening to a mass majority of the collective, but that's not what's being amplified, right? They obscure that by just amplifying greed, hatred, delusion. But let us not underestimate this underground revolution, heart to heart, person to person, right? And it's like, this is the time I feel like where all these warriors, love warriors, spirits are coming back to this planet. I'm about to start the Church of Harriet Tubman again. It will be starting in April, and it's Harriet Tubman 5D. We're going next level liberation consciousness. And I know I already start feeling it. I'm like, Harriet's been non-stop. Let me tell you, my friends are probably, I've been texting them, look at this message, look at this message. I mean, I've had to get used to that, that, wow, okay, we're back. Harry's like, now is the time. The book you wrote was for now, not 3 years ago. It's for right now. And so much of what I wrote in that book was prophetic about this time. She was always saying there's going to be a great war, another giant kind of, but of course we'll win. Don't worry, we will win as we always have and we'll always will. And so Harriet's like, we need to church again. Let's go. Sunday mornings, we're going to start back on it. Church of Harriet 5.0. And so much of that is coming through my heart chakra. So much of that is coming from love, like the love of the people, and to remind ourselves that when we rest in the heart, we are so powerful. We are like a boat that cannot be moved. You know that song, We Will Not Be Moved, that gospel song they would sing? And it's like the love of the people were unmovable when they were together. Dr. King had that light. He was also this great conductor. Anyone who could dismantle segregation in 12 years, a conductor, whew, and he was born only 12 years after Harriet died. They're from the same, they cut from the same cloth. And so are we, because we can rest in the heart. We can continually grow. And this is what I'm doing. It's like a trainer, a Jedi trainer or whatever, a Taekwondo. I'm making my heart fortified, and so in the right moment, it has its own path. It rises up. It does what it needs to do, right? It sets forth. But let us not feel powerless right now, because so many of us just watch in a sense of helplessness, tears on our cheeks. What is going on? It's like, let them have it, right? Let them tear it all up. Like, it'll just start eating each other alive, right? But what we're doing meantime, humanity could come back to its heart and trust that we can practice. Now is a good time to go to the temple, to go to the prayers, to make the offerings, and to remember we have great power, and it's in something much higher than that dominant ego energy. And what's so funny was that they made the eagle, and they also took that from the Lakota and the Native Americans, their sacred symbol of liberation and magic, right? And turned it into, kind of put it on money and militarized it again, using the ego consciousness as the dominator unknowingly, right? And so here we are, we're coming out from that domination, right? And into the frequency of love, into the frequency of the heart. So your compassion practices, our heart practices are the doorway to our liberation right now. And I want to say a little bit more about this balancing of wisdom and compassion. Okay, because um, when you are practicing meditation and when you are, one of the hardest things about meditation practice and being a yogi, right, waking up, is the suffering pulls us off track, right? People, if we just sat in bliss, everybody would love to meditate, but what happens when you meditate? It starts off good, and then all of a sudden, all the memories, it's a purification, right? Meditation brings us in contact with our karma, right? And a lot of people, when I work with students in meditation retreats, when the days they want to run and flee, is because they're trying to outrun the pain that is arising. All the memories, the programs, actions that we've done. And if we can't meet that with compassion, we'll never let go of our trauma. The only thing that really heals trauma is compassion, right? We hold ourselves and one another. And this also is why the ceremony work that I do is so important. When I'm doing ceremonies with groups, actually I'll have them build community, and then we'll ahead of time, and then we go down and we're together and we're building the community. We create this field of love. And within that field of compassion, everything can be processed and let go of. Your traumas will never break these chains of pain and suffering if we can't hold them with compassion. It's compassion that lets go of the program. It's not the mind. The mind loves the program. The mind is the program, right? So we try to go into our head and figure, it's like, no, we have to come in and trust a whole different way of being the body. Your heart is in your body. So when you're resting in metta, you are resting in your body. You are feeling your body. Only people that are so cut off from their body and their heart could even harm an ant on the ground, more or less bomb other countries or deny people of their rights. It's unfathomable to me. It's such a harsh conscience. Like Earth is, it's hardcore here. This Earth school, I'm like, oh, you got to have a fierce heart to handle this, especially as we go into this new cycle of the great turn, right? As we are shifting. And I do mean turn. It was so interesting looking at, I saw that I saw this little bit of a documentary from that town in Greece, this beautiful, rich town. The earth won't stop shaking there. Has anyone seen that? They're just having earthquakes. Everyone has to leave. Like, this is the type of thing that Pachamama is doing, right? Nothing, right? Everything's being shaken. It's like the ground, the water, the fires. It's like everything. And we have to really trust that the Mother Earth's going through her own transition. I don't fear for the earth anymore. I used to, but I realized no, as we go through this program, she's also going through this upgrade. So the shedding, the program, we get it. We're in this cycle, a powerful cycle. So I wanted to make sure that I encouraged you in this next period of time to really think about retreat, to think about practice, to think about how to really fortify your energy. Right now, there's a lot. I almost feel like I don't actually use terms like stargates and star seeds and portals. I'm going to start teaching a lot about all this other information, a reality that I also live in. But I was like, it's not really ready to talk about that. But that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about in the Harriet Tubman 5D, is these incredible opportunities. The veils between worlds are very thin right now, right? It's almost like as something collapses, something breaks open, right? We have, I guess, contact with our ancestors in a completely different way. I know people in the alien world where I just think all life is, we're connected to 10,000 world system. Of course, there'd be beings in different dimension and bodies. For me, that stuff is very normal. I don't have any, yeah, just years in the jungle changes you, and working with a lot of plant medicine, you start to see beyond this one realm. Um, but there's so many people, star seeds that are here awakening, and then you have the whole ancestor spirit world. We have beings like Harriet here. There's a lot of awakened energy. You know, they say that as the end of the Kali Yuga era, the darkest part of the night is, you know, brings the dawn, and we're entering into like the bottom of the barrel of these certain types of energies, right? And so I just want to to say that it's a beautiful time to open yourself up to prayer, to practice, to love and compassion, loving yourself, and to keep these prayers going as much as you can. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. It builds not only a shield around you, but it creates a frequency that you're on the same frequency as the liberated consciousness, and they can reach you. You know, your latitude and longitude has to be just right, right? And the heart frequency is the frequency of the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Jesus de Cristo, the angel. They can reach you, and there's tremendous amount of expansion possible right now. Does that make sense, everybody? Is anybody also feeling that? Yeah, that there's this, you know, you might start spontaneously writing, but in order to help, you have to stay in the heart medicine field until the heart no longer shifts back as easily into fear and terror and the program. We have to root so deeply, right? It's like that neuroplasticity. We dig a lane so deep that it's like almost impossible to kind of shift back into the old paradigm. We might momentarily, but we'll immediately feel it like, oh man, this is bad, right? And we'll shift back, right? So it's really key that the practice, let's keep the practice going, not just on Tuesday night, but try to have a continuity now. I don't know about you, but I need it. The moment I'm not really like, you know, focused, it's just, whew, these other energies start coming in, and they're powerful. Oh yeah, they're powerful. My grandmother used to always say, new levels, new devils, right? And as we are rising up, these old programs, they try to get, it's like, you know how the minute you go on a diet or some kind of health program, that same minute, all you want is like cheeseburgers and like you're not even on it 5 hours and the mind's already. That's what I'm saying, the hook of the old, right? We make a commitment to wellness, and then every old program comes in to try to disrupt. So there's also a lot of disruption energy, but you got to hold strong. You got to be fierce with your practice right now. And not only for your practice, but you are the light for many beings that you come into contact with. So you're holding, whoever you are, everybody out there, you have a community. And the more you're rooted and you're steady, the more you're holding the lantern for everybody else. You literally are a conductor for them. Somebody has to hold it, right? And start leading. It's like, okay, this way, everybody, you know. We hold the light for each other. This is powerful times. We are being activated, and that activation is dynamic, right? And it's when we're rooted in the heart, we become fearless too. We do things that we never would do normally, but we have faith, and we are held and we are protected in that.